deal.
And they didn't have that cash. This was oil revenue that was in South Korea. They didn't have that money because it was frozen because of sanctions. So you can argue that I'm not lifting sanctions, and maybe you're not technically lifting them, but when you're not actually executing the sanctions, enforcing the sanctions, which they haven't been doing, by the way, on Iran to the fullest extent of the law. In the Trump administration, we had to call around the world. We had to get China, India, Russia, all of these countries not to purchase Iranian oil during the maximum economic pressure campaign. That's how we got this $6 billion in South Korea in the first place. So you could say it's not a ransom payment. You could say we're not lifting sanctions. But if you're not enforcing them and you're giving Iran, the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, $6 billion, then we're just arguing semantics.
All right. Now to part two of that, and that is whether or not we needed to pay them this money at all. Because in the briefing, our Jackie Heinrich said, well, wait a second. We exchanged five Iranian prisoners, two of which apparently don't want to leave the United States and go back to Iran.
Why would you?
Yeah, for the 5 Americans. Why did we need to give them money at all? Here's what Kirby said.
This is the deal that we were able to strike to secure the release of 5 Americans. It would be great, wonderful, if we could just pick up the phone and call the mullahs and say, hey, we want our Americans back, send them back on the next plane. But you and I both know that's not going to happen, particularly with Iran.
It's the best deal we could get. This is what we had to do to get this deal. This is the world's greatest superpower. Why are we negotiating from such a position of weakness?
Listen, I know and respect John Kirby. He was former State Department spokesperson before me. I think everything he said right there is true. It's accurate. This is the best deal that the Biden administration can get. If you ask Robert O'Brien, who was our hostage negotiator before he became National Security Advisor, if you ask Mike Pompeo, are they great negotiators? Absolutely. But they were able to go in from a position of strength because of who backed them up in the White House. And so when you look at the negotiators that the Biden team has, they don't have that same kind of backing. They don't have that same credible threat of force. Remember, John Kerry said back when he was Secretary of State negotiating the JCPOA, he lamented that he didn't have the threat of force in the negotiations because he knew it made him weaker. One final thing I have to bring up, John. Americans, current and former administration officials, are still under daily threat of assassination attempts from this regime. We're talking about Chairman Milley. We're talking about Mike Pompeo. We're talking about many other, Brian Hook, others. Current and former administration officials are today with full details of security because this regime threatens to kill them on American soil. So I want to know from the administration, why was that not included? You're giving them $6 billion and you can't even get them to stop trying to assassinate former American and current senior American officials?
Yeah.